Hello and welcome to Stupid Ancient History with Midgley
and Taylor and our expert, non-expert and special guest James, the science toolboy.
Hello.
As always, we're wearing togas, and today we're going to look at how Darius I became king of Persia.
So previously on Stupid Ancient History we looked at the story of Cambyses, particularly at how after a short period of success he went absolutely barking mad.
There was a bunch of incest,
Standard.
The death of a sacred cow,
desecration of a few tombs,
and a whole bunch of other calamities until he quite fittingly stabbed himself in the leg.
I'm almost scared to ask, is he... We'll
Dead?
find out. We'll find out eventually. Is he one of the worst ones, or do they get worse than him?
It's not great, is he, Cambyses?
No, not really.
No. So, one major problem that the death of Cambyses leaves is that there's a lack of an heir. I mean, this is a perennial problem for numerous royal leaders.
Did neither of his sister wives give him children?
Nope.
So it's weird. I've missed saying the word sister wife.
So there's also the problem that by the end he had few siblings either.
Because he polished them all off.
Yeah, he'd married and then killed two sisters.
He went full Cleo, didn't he?
He did.
And then some.
Well, he also had a brother who was called Smerdis, but he murdered him on his way back to Persia, as Cambyses had a dream that he would take the throne from him.
So this wasn't the Archer brother. This was a different one.
No, this is a different one.
Okay,
Yeah.
right, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, he has him killed. He has him sent away and then killed en route.
How many other siblings does he have at this point?
There's only one left.
Okay.
More about her later.
Yeah.
Anyway, whilst Cambyses was going increasingly loopy in Egypt, there was a bit of a rebellion going on in Persia, particularly with some of the Magi.
Are they... That Magi kind of like the ones who visited Jesus?
Yeah, Magi are they're like wise men. It's their job to interpret dreams and religious omens.
So these are similar Magi who have interpreted the floods of wheat and divine dreams.
It's them guys again.
Yeah.
I mean, you've not set the bar very high so far.
So anyway, even though you're being very negative about the Magi, James, which is obviously not founded at all, it appears that two of these Magi, who were also brothers, were in on the fact that Smerdis was dead. And this was only known to a select few within the Persian court.
This was hushed up.
Yeah. So because one of them sort of looked like the now dead Smerdis, they decided to take the throne pretending to be him.
And they could just get away with that.
Well, they clearly thought they could, yeah.
Why? What was different about Smerdis? Were the other sibling murders kept secret, or were they public and just this one was hushed for some reason?
We're not given a huge amount of detail. I mean, kicking your sister wife to death might be a bit of a public event, but
bit of a faux pas.
I think it's more that Smerdis was a brother, so if Cambyses died, he'd be the next king.
Okay.
So if he was to have a terrible accident and fall onto a knife a few times on his way back to Persia, they kept it a bit quiet.
They're quite big fans of getting lookalikes to take over posts of the Persians, aren't they?
Oh yeah, why not?
So when Cambyses dies, fake Smerdis has basically just been hanging around the palace, kind of in row, so just kind of waiting, and then Handley just kind of takes over.
Because everyone else assumes that he is the legit Smerdis.
And everyone just carries on.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Persians who were with Cambyses in Egypt didn't believe that the Magi had revolted, especially since Praxaspes, remember the guy who, the archery competition, Cambyses' cupbearer, tells them so passionately that there is no way whatsoever that Cambyses had Smerdis killed.
Right, okay.
Not all that he was the one who did it.
So he'd been sworn to secrecy, and he would likely have been punished for the murder of Smerdis if anyone found out what had happened.
And in all honesty, it seems that not many people had really seen Smerdis either, or paid much attention to him.
So this person just turned up, started hanging around the palace.
Turns up, has a beard and says, "Hi, I'm Smerdis." And I was like, oh yeah. I mean, to be fair, if you've got one brother who's going around tearing up Egypt and everything else he did,
to be fair.
And then the quiet one in the corner, who are you going to look at?
Yeah, to be fair.
So, but not everyone didn't know what was going on. Some people were starting to get a bit suspect.
Exactly, yeah. In Persia, there were a few starting to have these doubts. I mean, largely as well, no one had seen this missing Magus for a long while. You know, the guy who handily looks like Smerdis. Well, he's Magus Magi.
Okay.
Same thing.
Yeah, this one who magically just happened to look like the brother.
Yeah, as you do. Big beard, Persian looking, very similar. But one particularly suspicious Persian was a nobleman by the name of Atanes. And Atanes is in a handy position to get to the bottom of this whole Smerdis shenanigans.
Say that 3 times quick.
No. No. Why would I when we've got Herodotus to listen to?
Hey,
So-
you're back.
It says, now when the Magus usurped the throne, he took over all Cambyses' wives, amongst whom there was a daughter of Atanes called Vidimi. Atanes, to test the truth of his suspicions, sent a message to his daughter, and asked her who it was she slept with, Smerdis, son of Cyrus, or some other man. She replied that she did not know. She had never seen Smerdis, the son of Cyrus, and had no idea who her husband was. I mean,
there's a lot to unpack into that.
Who are you sleeping with? I don't know.
I don't know.
No idea.
Excuse me, miss. Is this your husband? Well, it could be.
Also, you just so he's acquired his dad's wives after his
Brother's wives.
brother's wife. Excuse me. So yeah, just he snuffed it. You belong to him now.
Pretty much.
but to be fair,
Also, emphasis on the wives.
yeah.
Well, yeah,
There's
to be
a
fair,
lot of them.
How many were there?
There were lots.
Right.
And
okay.
also, although it wasn't wives plural in our history, but the swapping of a wife from one dead sibling to another
Yeah.
is something that's happened in English history as
Yeah,
well,
Henry VIII
quite
had
often.
it.
So
That
yeah,
ended well.
not that unusual.
Oh yeah, she was. Is it Catherine Argan? She's married to
Yeah.
his brother before.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Again, the moral of the story, if you're not picking up on this, is don't marry your dead brother's wives.
Wait, I have to write that
or,
down.
or don't marry your living brothers or your living... Just, yeah.
And the other thing is, make sure you know who your husband is
Yeah.
I mean, that
Before
seems like a key point.
before you sleep with them, especially. That's
it'd
always
be
good.
nice, yeah. But anyway, this
So,
aside, Herodotus gives us a bit more.
so it says, Atanes sent a second message. If it ran, you do not yourself know Smerdis, the son of Cyrus. Ask a tosser. It's
You okay there, Jen?
waiting for the giggles.
No, wait, you can't just throw that there's someone called Atosser in there.
That's her name.
There's a bloke called Atosser.
It's a
A
woman.
woman.
A woman's called Atosser.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right, okay, we'll come back to that.
she keeps coming back.
Oh, does she?
Oh,
She
yes.
important.
Yes.
So, right, I'm going to giggle every time you say that. Right, okay.
So, ask a tosser who it is with whom you both live. She can hardly fail to know her own brother. Vidimi replied, I have no means of speaking to a tosser, nor of seeing any other of the king's wives. For as soon as this man, whoever he may be, came to the throne, he separated us and gave us all different quarters.
So this obviously just makes Atanes even more suspicious.
So is he basically splitting the women up, isn't he,
Yeah.
so they can't speak to each other?
Yeah.
Can't gossip about him.
Yeah.
So basically what we've just learned from that is this whole Smyrna shenanigan was possibly going well until a tosser ruined it.
Maybe.
So now Handler, Atanes not being put off, remembered something that would have been really useful at the start of his plan.
You remembered that fake Smerdis had no ears.
I didn't know that, no.
Yeah.
You've thrown that on me.
Yeah, so Cyrus had cut them off for some terrible crime.
Okay.
We're not quite sure what, but he cut them off for some terrible crime. So Atanes instructs his daughter, at great risk to herself, because obviously they'll know that something's afoot, that when she next sleeps with Smerdis, that she needs to try and figure out has he got any ears.
That's literally the plan.
Okay, I mean, it sounds like it could work. So just for the record, actual Smerdis had his ears.
Actual Smerdis had ears, fake Smerdis had no ears. Why Atanes didn't think of that before?
I mean, it seems like an easy way to identify someone. What do we know? What not Smerdis did to have his ears cut off?
Just some terrible crime.
Was that a common punishment?
I don't know.
Or just cutting bits off, just like
Cutting bits off was pretty common.
okay.
So yeah, lo and behold, Her turn comes up on the rota,
Oh,
because
God.
they effectively were rotated. While Smerdis is asleep, she has a quick fumble round his head and finds out, ta-da, this guy's got no ears. So
Okay.
immediately she sends a message back to her dad saying, no ears.
The thought just occurred to me that you said this was all about Darius. We've not heard anything about him.
True.
Yeah. So now that he has his suspicions confirmed, Atanis gathers a group of Persian nobles who he knows he can trust.
Including a chap called Darius.
Darius.
There he is.
How old is Darius?
He's not old. He's
Okay.
youngish.
Okay.
So the conspirators kind of meet and listen to what Atanis has to say.
At which point Darius sort of chips in that he knew all this anyway. We don't know how. He just says, "Oh, this is why I came. I knew this was all the case."
Is he known for bragging or making stuff up?
He's known for having a high opinion of himself.
Right, so it could be I knew that all along, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, very
Okay.
much.
So he's clearly trying to put across this image that he knows everything, bigging himself up.
Yeah.
So anyway, the group then start to argue about what to do, and Atanis thinks that they should wait and be careful. Darius wants to act straight away. So he's very headstrong, and obviously wants to
Who wins out?
get something done.
Well, there's more.
Okay, of course there is.
So, meanwhile, the plot thickens.
Why wouldn't it?
Herodotus.
So the two magi had been thinking things over and had decided to take Praxaspes into their confidence. There were several reasons for this decision. First, Praxaspes had been cruelly treated by Cambyses, who shot his son dead. Then, as he had been directly responsible for the murder of Smerdis, the son of Cyrus, he was the only person in the secret of his death. And lastly, he was highly respected in Persian society.
Okay.
So, I mean, obviously, like we said, because he's one of the few people who actually knows the truth about fake Smerdis, it's an obvious ploy to get him on side.
Yeah.
Why they've not thought about that before is beyond me.
I know it's not really the point they would focus on, but do we know how fake Smerdis did at being king?
Well, he's not fake king for very long.
Right, okay, so this was all very quick.
He's
Yeah.
just enjoying sleeping with all of Cambyses' wives by the sounds of things.
I mean, fair play, but just in my head, he turned it into this idyllic paradise. They're like, no, we must get him out.
Not quite. But much as Praxaspes was not a fan of Cambyses after shooting his son with an arrow to prove he's not mad, or his family for that matter, Praxaspes did feel conflicted about this fake king situation.
and also probably about his involvement in the death of the real king.
Yeah.
So the Magi want Praxaspes, who is well regarded throughout the Persian nobility, to speak up and again convince the people that this Smerdis is legit. Praxaspes agrees. The Magi call the people to a square, and Praxaspes is to climb a tower where he can address the crowds, basically.
Okay.
So, Praxaspes dutifully climbs the stairs of the tower to address the people. But when he gets to the top, rather than doing as the Magi have instructed, he tells the people everything. How he'd been instructed to kill the real Smerdis.
That the Magi was a fake, and that once he's done all this, he then leaps from the tower straight to his death. Splat!
As soon as you said the word tower, I didn't think this was going to end well, I'll be honest. So he grasses himself up and then kills himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which
Did he not think anyone might have some follow-up questions? It might be good to leave himself alive for a little bit.
I think after he'd done that, he wasn't going to be living much longer anyway.
Right.
So, but coincidentally, though, literally as Praxaspes hits the ground, this is when Atanis, Darius, and co. finally decide what they're going to do.
Okay. I assume it's something good.
Oh yes.
They have to clean him up first.
Just sweep it away.
So, having finally decided to do something, at timing, the conspirators follow Darius's plan. So they ride to the palace where the guards let them through because of their social status, and inside the two magi are in their chambers trying to work out what to do now that Praxaspes has betrayed them. So the conspirators burst in, and there is a short fight.
Where Darius is the man who strikes the lethal blow.
Yeah, job done.
Fake Smerdis is dead.
The only problem, they then have to decide what to do next.
After they've cleaned up.
Well, yeah, they've got an exploded body at the bottom of a tower and two magi to deal with.
Yeah.
So the first thing they obviously need to do is they need to let the people know what's just happened.
How do they do that? They can't just like send a mass text, can they?
Not quite, no. Herodotus?
Oh, I was hoping he'd turn up.
So, it says, when both the Magi had been killed, the Confederates decapitated them and ran out into the street, shouting and making a great noise with the severed heads in their hands. So if anyone was under any illusion...
It gets people. I imagine it gets people's
What's been
attention
going
pretty
on?
quick.
You don't need to make a great noise if you're walking down the street with a severed
Yeah,
head.
that's what I mean. I think the head would probably draw the
Yeah,
eye.
you don't need to go, oh, lads, look at this!
Oh.
Anyway, after they've gone walking with the severed heads, this year's obvious essential fashion accessory, they go back inside and try and work out what to do. Atanes has already worn himself out, so he leaves everyone else to it. I mean,
He's tired from all the
he
murder.
is. And after all, I mean, he does have a daughter somewhere in this palace. He should probably go and find out if she's all right. Caring response. So the remaining men then discuss all different types of government that they know about and what are the strengths and weaknesses of each.
So,
It's a thrilling discussion.
so there were other types of government other than like monarchy.
Yeah, by this time they'd heard about democracy in Greece, they talked about an oligarchy, they came up with all kinds of different ideas.
I mean,
Okay.
they're very calm, aren't they, considering that someone just jumped off a building and then you got two running around outside with some severed
I mean,
heads.
Maybe they brought the heads back in and asked the heads.
I mean,
Yeah.
to
What
be,
do you think? Like hand puppet? I think this! No, I think this!
I mean, to be fair, after like the year we've had in 2020, I'm numb to anything. Nothing surprises me now. So after Cambyses being mental, maybe they're just unfazed by anything anymore.
Oh,
I mean,
what
I
do-
think if Boris Johnson though chopped off someone's head and started running around outside number 10 Downing Street, we might be slightly shocked, James.
I'd take notice. I don't think shocked would be what I like to say.
Unless he's the fake Smerdis.
Boris Johnson has ears. I've seen them.
Oh.
So, after a bit more discussion, they decide that a monarchy is still the best idea.
Just keep everything
So they're not
exactly the
actually,
same.
yeah, they're not actually going to change anything. They've just killed all them people for no reason, as you do.
It's not for no reason.
Well, you know, they've basically not changed anything. So,
No.
yeah. But then the question is, kind of, who is going to be the next king of the new Persian, well, not new, but of the Persian Empire?
I'm guessing they're only going to pick between themselves.
Yeah.
They're,
Oh, yeah.
they're going to elect
To-
someone else.
No.
No, it's
no.
going to be one of them.
But they have a really ingenious way of deciding who's going to be the next king.
I'm not going to like this, am
I
I?
think you're going to love it. So they decide that whoever's horse neighs first at the following dawn should be king.
What?
So the Persians are famous horsemen. They're renowned for the cavalry. Horses are really important to their way of life and what they
Okay.
do. So given that horses are so important, they decide that they're all going to meet up in the morning near the throne, sitting with the horses, and whoever's horse neighs first, that's a sign from God that they should be the next king.
They could just have a vote or something.
Don't be silly.
That's boring.
But Darius is not willing to take a chance on this. So we're told that night Darius has one of his men, shall we say, introduce his horse to a particular mare, girl horse, that it's quite fond of.
Okay.
And the following morning, as the remaining conspirators meet, Herodotus,
So it says, he rubbed the mare's genitals and then kept his hand covered inside his breeches. When the sun was rising and the horses were about to be released, he drew his hand out and put it to the nostrils of Darius's horse, which at the smell of the mare at once snorted and neighed.
you look a bit taken aback there, James.
I feel a bit sick.
With bestiality going on. Well, half bestiality.
No, that's bestiality.
It's like bestial foreplay,
So
isn't it?
someone
Let's not discuss the details.
so someone fondled a horse.
Yep.
Whilst having his own hand down his trousers.
Well, where else would you put your hand?
Anywhere.
So someone fondled a horse.
Mr. Hill does not have any pets. I'd just like to say this.
Not allowed.
I'm not surprised.
So
He fondles a
fondles
horse,
a horse.
keeps his hand in his pants for safekeeping.
Right. Okay.
Next morning, sees
Can I
Darius'
just-
horse
Why? Can you not just put a glove on?
because, I don't know, where else do you keep your horse molesting hand?
Well, I'd argue you don't have a horse molesting hand to begin with. And again, in a glove.
No, so, yeah, long story short, that's how Darius becomes the king of Persia.
That's the start of a system for government.
That is the start of a system of government.
Also, can you imagine having to kind of have that hand all night and making sure that it
Oh.
doesn't touch your face? Or I think a glove would have been a really good idea.
I hope they cut the hand off after. I couldn't.
No, that's the king-making hand.
Then they can put it on in a museum or a pedestal somewhere. I'd have it chopped off. I couldn't deal with that.
There you
Or
go.
the horse.
So there we go.
Is that actually how he became king?
Well, according to the sources, and apparently Darius is quite keen on this story. So, you know,
Why?
every time someone questions our current system of elections, there are worse ways to become leader.
So that wasn't like a sly little thing he did and became king and then never told someone about. He told people this story.
Apparently so.
Right. Okay.
James is now looking in.
I thought Cambyses was mad, and I don't think this guy's off to a very good start, I'll be honest.
I mean, at the moment, I would just not like to be an animal in Persia, seeing as though your choices are that you either get changed into a pipeline, strapped onto a shield, or you get molested. I mean, the
I was
horse
stabbed in a temple.
stabbed. So the horses have the best kind of.
To be fair, the
Situation
camels seem
out
to be
of
doing
all.
well.
Yeah. Apart from they ate the camels, didn't they?
Oh, they did
them
it.
as well.
Yeah, they're not nice to
No.
animals at all, are they?
No. So the big question I've got is
Oh, dear God.
was this a consensual act? Did the horse say nay?
Nay, as in no. Funnily enough, this is one of the details Herodotus doesn't give us, whether the guy asked for the horse's consent first or whether he
That's
got
a
it
shame.
flowers. I mean, if that's the big question you've got about this, that's also quite deeply worrying.
I've got a lot of questions about this, to be fair.
Where do you want to start, James?
Well, to be honest, I would like to not have started in the first place. Do we have any conflicting stories? Is there any chance this is just not true?
Yeah, there's another story where he used as a guinea pig.
No, there is not. Do not write that down. That's just Helen being wrong.
Oh, God.
No, there are massive reliability issues with this. I mean, the fact that it seems like Darius is using this as his claim to fame. I mean, you wouldn't necessarily want people talking about it, really.
Don't tell anyone then.
Well, but he has told everyone. It is a fanciful story, isn't it? I mean, how we have historians have no way of proving this. It's not like the horse whisperer.
Yeah.
Let's just call him that. The horse whisperer wrote a biography, Things I Did for Darius. But yeah, it is a fanciful story. The whole thing about the ears, the daughter, the horse, just the details about like they chopped the heads off and it was Darius who happened to kill the Magi. It's all quite fanciful. It may actually just be that whilst there was this temporary government, maybe it was real Smerdis, Darius did just perform a coup and decided, I want to be king.
Yeah.
Overthrows him. He's put on the spot. Why did you overthrow him? Oh, best thing I can think of, something to do with horses.
But yeah, more often than not, I kind of choose to believe the more fanciful things. It makes this all more colourful and
It's
interesting.
more fun.
There's one instance where I'm certainly choosing to not believe that.
It also kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Because we know that animals feature quite predominantly in lots of different cultures as being sacred and important. And having reverence So
Or as weapons, if you can be.
Yeah. So the fact that he's kind of using an animal to show that he should be the next ruler
He's
does
definitely
kind of
using an animal.
does kind of make sense, but it's just that he's using it in a bit more of a questionable way.
Yeah, not a PG-13 way.
No.
But either way, I mean, what really is important and significant is it now marks a massive shift in the Persian line, massive shift in dynasty, because
I don't think that's the most important thing.
may not be the most scarring, but there are no more sons of Cyrus.
Right, okay.
You know, Cyrus's family line has been chopped.
So who was Darius? When you say he's a Magi, does that mean he's like noble stock?
Darius isn't a Magi, he's a noble.
Okay.
He stabs the Magi. But yeah,
Right,
he's
okay.
sort of related to Cyrus, kind
Okay.
of like uncles, brothers, cousins.
Right, okay.
Goes back quite far, but yeah, he's a nobleman. But it just means this is the end of Cyrus's actual bloodline. So
After 2.
numbers aren't important. So there you go. A horrifying story of how Darius became king of Persia. Are you okay now, James?
I'm exhausted. I really am just drained. I want to go to sleep, but I'll probably have horrible nightmares.
I'm not going to ask about what. So, thank you for listening. We hope this has been useful. Leave us a comment below, and until next time, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.